Amelia caught her breath, came behind her, and then raised her white finger to her temple to help massage it. Henry closed his eyes and hid his red eyes in them. What's your treatment is to massage me? Be a little happy, you are the first man I massaged. Mr. Henry. Looks like you're not the first woman lucky enough to massage me. Leave me, we will live in peace, if you don't ask about my personal affairs. Amelia replied, I will help you act in front of Grandma, and can also help you treat insomnia. How? Henry didn't speak. As Amelia pushed the thin silver needle into Henry's brain acupuncture canal, Henry closed his eyes and fell onto the sofa. Amelia quickly stretched out her hand and gently caught the handsome face she was holding a while ago. He finally fell asleep. On one hand, the housekeeper was already breaking out in a cold sweat. Others do not know this young master's identity. But how could he not know that his young master was the young master of the Mahendra family, the proud son of the country, playing in the business world in his youth, and the guardian of the Mahendra family's legacy? No one dared to negotiate with a master like this, much less a girl. The girls who were lucky enough to see the young master for so many years had their own special position in their eyes, yearning, loving, and wanting to rush into the young master's arms at any moment. But this young lady in front of him was very special. She was calm, gentle, and intelligent even in front of the sickly young master. What's even more surprising is that the young master fell asleep because of it. Mr. Henry hasn't slept in a long time. The doctors who treat insomnia for the young master are all on the world's top list, but they are useless. But now the young master is sleeping in the palm of this young lady. Young lady, said the butler. Amelia put her finger to her lips and gestured, shut up, come out, I'll take care of her here. Don't know why, but the housekeeper feels that there is a convincing power within this young lady, and she retreats obediently. The room became quiet and calming. Amelia let him rest in her palms for a while, and when he was sleeping soundly, she put him on the sofa and covered him with a blanket. After doing all this, Amelia went to sleep too. At this time, Henry on the sofa slowly opened his eyes and woke up. Henry got up and came over to the bed, stretching out his slender fingers to lift the veil over Amelia's face. Immediately, Henry's fingers stopped, and refused to remove the veil over his face. He looked at the girl who was already asleep on the bed. If he would open his eyes, it would be very beautiful. He looked like he was sleeping like a little cat. Which when he looked, he clawed like a little cat. A very charming combination of innocence and charm. Henry saw a red mark on his neck. The skin was so smooth he just lightly gripped it, and now there was a red mark. Henry turned around, returned to the couch, and lay down. His sleep disturbance was getting worse step by step every day. Obviously it can't be treated with the silver needle. However, this girl's medical skills were extraordinary, and she was actually sleeping in the palm of her hand right now. A luxury, enjoyed after a long time. Even though it was about 10 minutes. He hadn't slept for 10 minutes in a long time. Henry saw a slender figure on the bed. What he was thinking was, why were his hands so small and soft? Early the next day, Amelia was sitting in the dining room drinking red dates and lotus seed soup brought by the waitress. Amelia, I liked her the moment I saw you. From now on, Henry won't dare bother you. If he dares bother you, you should tell Grandma. Grandma will help you beat her. Drink up, don't stop, drink more red dates and lotus seed soup. You have to give birth to a child as soon as possible. Even after giving birth, Grandma will hold Mr. Henry in one hand and Miss Amelia in the other. Mrs. Hilda Mahendra has gray hair, but she is very energetic, kind and sympathetic. Ignoring his teasing intent, Amelia liked him very much. At this time the maid's voice sounded, Master, Good morning." Henry came down. Amelia raised her eyes. Today, Henry is wearing a white shirt and black trousers. Handmade fabrics are ironed without creasing. His shirt, which seems simple but expensive for the seeing eye. An old woman also followed. The happy woman smiled and congratulated Mrs. Mahendra. "Mrs. Hilda Mahendra, congratulations. I wish you great-grandchildren as soon as possible." "Good job, butler, you need a reward." Mrs. Hilda handed out red envelopes very humbly. Amelia knew at a glance that this happy woman was the one who had eavesdropped between her and Henry last night. The woman was about to bleed the first time, but they didn't do anything about it. Then, where did the bloodstain come from? At this time, Henry stopped beside him, and he lowered his long body in his trouser pocket with one hand, and whispered in his ear, "I did it, because I can't do it again. Your body is still intact and safe?" She asked too straightforwardly. Amelia hadn't even talked about a relationship, and now her snow-white earlobes immediately blushed again. At this moment, the two had a rather intimate demeanor, and Henry lowered his body and whispered to Amelia, much like a newlywed couple sticking together like glue. Mrs. Hilda immediately covered her eyes with her hands. "I don't see anything, you guys can continue." Mrs. Hilda opened her fingers and watched silently. Henry looked at Amelia's little earlobe quietly, his eyebrows slightly raised, and a hint of a grown man's evil charm made his heart skip a beat. "Your 20th birthday hasn't arrived yet, you're still 19 years old, have you never dated another man?" Amelia is very young, only 19 years old. And Henry is a man who is 27 years old, a handsome, mature and extraordinary man. He continued to press, and the two of them drew closer again. Amelia only felt his warm breath like being sprayed onto her smooth and weak muscles, making her want to hide herself. "Do you want to eat?" Amelia turned and fed the red dates and lotus seed soup in a small spoon straight into her mouth, and tried to cover her mouth. The butler on one side immediately shouted, "Young lady, that's your spoon." The young master had a habit of being very fond of cleanliness. The spoon was already used by the young woman. At once the housekeeper quickly went to get the mouthwash. Amelia's slender body trembled in shock and embarrassment. Earlier, he wanted to cover his mouth and feed him directly with his own spoon. But after being fed a spoonful of soup, Henry stood up straight, furrowed his brows, and gulped down a spoonful of red dates and lotus seed soup while everyone looked on in disbelief. The housekeeper was shocked. "Sir, what is it? What is it?" "Sir, you have hygiene habits, have you forgotten?" Mrs. Hilda nodded in satisfaction. He had been very precise even when he was over 70 years old. He liked Amelia at first sight. This girl and her granddaughter were destined to be together. "Wow, well, you two ate a bowl of red dates and lotus seed soup together. Looks like my great-grandchildren will soon be in Amelia's tummy." Mrs. Hilda was happy like a child.
Thank you all. Have a nice day. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, so that the admin is more enthusiastic to provide entertainment for all of you. See you in the next video.